The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Part 1. The Tributes.
Chapter 1. The Reaping. Katniss Everdeen wakes up to a cold bed, reaching out for her sister Prim's warmth but finding only rough canvas. Prim has crawled into their mother's bed for comfort. Today is no ordinary day. It's the day of the Reaping, a dreaded event in District 12. Katniss observes her sleeping family. Her mother, who looks younger in sleep, and Prim, innocent and beautiful like the primrose she's named after. Guarding them is Buttercup, the world's ugliest cat, who hates Katniss for trying to drown him as a kitten. Despite their rocky start, they have a tenuous truce. Katniss gets ready in her well-worn hunting boots and clothes. She finds a precious gift from Prim, a piece of goat cheese waiting for her. She slips outside into the eerie silence of the seam, their impoverished coal mining district. Katniss heads to the woods, a forbidden area separated by a supposedly electrified fence. She slides under a gap and retrieves her hidden bow and arrows. The woods are dangerous but full of food for those who know where to look, skills her father taught her before his death in a mine explosion. In the woods, Katniss meets her best friend and hunting partner, Gale. They share a bond of survival and a dark sense of humor about the Reaping and the capital's oppression. Gale jokingly suggests they run away, but their responsibilities to their families make it impossible. Gale and Katniss gather food and trade in the Hob, the black market. They visit the mayor's house to sell strawberries, encountering Madge, the mayor's daughter. Madge's privileged life sparks Gale's resentment, highlighting the unfairness of the reaping system. Back home, Katniss scrubs herself clean and dons her mother's old dress for the reaping. The family shares a tense meal. At the square, the community gathers silently, with young people separated by age groups, waiting for the fateful draw. Katniss stands with other 16-year-olds, staring at the slips with her name. The mayor and Effie Trinket, District 12's capital-appointed escort, take their places on stage. As the clock strikes 2, the ceremony begins, and the crowd braces for the annual horror. Chapter 2. The Girl on Fire. Imagine waiting silently in a tree, hoping for game, but instead, you fall crashing to the ground, breathless and dazed. This is exactly how Katniss Everdeen feels as she hears her sister Prim's name echo through the crowd during the reaping. Prim, her sweet, innocent sister, has been chosen as a tribute for the Hunger Games. The odds were supposed to be in Prim's favor, one slip of paper among thousands, but fate had a different plan. The crowd murmurs in distress, as they always do when a 12-year-old is chosen, and Katniss watches in horror as Prim, white-faced and trembling, makes her way to the stage. In a split second, Katniss is jolted back to reality by the sight of Prim's untucked blouse. Desperation fuels her actions. With a strangled cry, she pushes through the crowd, reaching Prim just in time to volunteer as tribute in her place. District 12 is stunned. Volunteers are rare, almost mythical, here where tribute is synonymous with death. Effie Trinket, the capital representative, is momentarily thrown off by the unexpected volunteer, but the mayor, recognizing Katniss as the girl who brings strawberries, allows her to take Prim's place. Amid Prim's hysterical screams, Gale, Katniss's best friend, lifts Prim away, giving Katniss the strength to stand tall on stage. The crowd's reaction is powerful and silent, a form of protest. No one claps. Instead, they touch 3 fingers to their lips and hold them out to Katniss, a gesture of thanks, admiration, and goodbye. As if on cue, Haymitch Abernathy, the district's only living victor, stumbles onto the stage, drunk and boisterous. His antics divert attention from Katniss's emotional turmoil, allowing her a moment to regain composure. Then the male tribute is chosen, Peeta Mellark. Katniss is hit with another wave of shock. Peeta, the baker's son, a boy she knows but has never spoken to. The boy who saved her life once by giving her bread when her family was starving. Memories flood back. Her father's death, her mother's catatonia, and the struggle to keep her family alive. She recalls the day Peeta deliberately burned bread to give to her, an act of kindness that she could never repay. Now she is faced with the grim reality that she and Peeta will have to fight to the death in the arena. The chapter closes with Katniss and Peeta standing together, the anthem of Panem playing as they face the crowd. Katniss resigns herself to the fact that in the deadly arena, she might have to kill Peeta, the boy who once gave her hope. The odds, she realizes, have not been in her favor lately. Chapter 3. The Train. As soon as the anthem ends, Katniss and Peeta are escorted into the Justice Building by peacekeepers. They aren't handcuffed, but the presence of the guards ensures they won't attempt an escape. Katniss is left alone in a luxurious room, the richest place she's ever seen, with thick carpets and velvet furniture. She knows she must stay composed for the upcoming goodbyes. Katniss's first visitors are her mother and sister Prim. Holding Prim in her lap, Katniss gives them strict instructions for survival in her absence. No tessery for Prim, rely on her goat's milk and cheese, and trade carefully with Gale for herbs and game. She sternly warns her mother not to fall into another depressive state, emphasizing the importance of staying strong for Prim. Prim in turn urges Katniss to try her best to win, though Katniss doubts her own chances. Next, the baker, Peeta's father, visits, surprising Katniss with a gift of cookies and a promise to look after Prim. Madge, the mayor's daughter, follows, giving Katniss a Mockingjay pin to wear in the arena as a token from home. Finally, Gale arrives. Their embrace is a moment of comfort amidst chaos. Gale advises Katniss to secure a bow in the arena, her best chance for survival. He assures her he'll provide for her family, and as they are torn apart, he desperately tries to remind her of something important, but the peacekeepers drag him away before he can finish. Katniss and Peeta are whisked away to the train station, swarmed by reporters. Katniss maintains a stoic facade for the cameras, while Peeta's visible tears leave her pondering his potential strategies in the games. On the high-speed train to the capital, they experience unprecedented luxury, with private rooms and endless food. Katniss savors the extravagance, knowing she needs to build strength for the games. During dinner, Effie Trinket laments last year's tribute's poor manners. Katniss, annoyed by Effie's comments, deliberately eats with her fingers. They watch a recap of the reapings from all districts, each tribute's face hauntingly reminding Katniss of the deadly competition ahead. When District 12's turn comes, the commentators note the unusual silence of the crowd and the lack of applause, a stark contrast to the capital's expectations. Effie criticizes their mentor, Haymitch Abernathy, for his drunkenness and lack of decorum. Peeta and Katniss share a moment of dark humor, knowing Haymitch's alcoholism is a constant. Effie stresses the importance of Haymitch's role in their survival, which becomes painfully clear when Haymitch stumbles in, vomits, and passes out, leaving Katniss and Peeta to face the grim reality of their situation alone. Chapter 4. The Chariot Ride. The scene opens with Katniss and Peeta dealing with their intoxicated mentor, Haymitch, who is covered in vomit. Despite their disgust, they recognize his importance in their survival and help him to his compartment. Peeta volunteers to clean Haymitch up, showing a surprising act of kindness that makes Katniss wary of him. In her room, Katniss reflects on Peeta's kindness and decides she must distance herself from him to avoid being manipulated. She throws the cookies Peeta's father gave her out the window, but the sight of them scattered among dandelions triggers memories of her past struggles for survival. She recalls how discovering edible plants like dandelions and learning to hunt helped her feed her family after her father's death. The next morning, Effie wakes Katniss with her usual enthusiasm. At breakfast, the opulence of the capital's food is overwhelming, a stark contrast to Katniss's life in District 12. Haymitch, still drunk, offers little useful advice, and Peeta challenges him by smashing a glass, prompting Haymitch to reassess them as potential fighters. Haymitch agrees to stay sober enough to help if they follow his guidance. As the train approaches the capital, Katniss is awed by its grandeur but sickened by the spectators' excitement. Peeta, however, waves to the crowd, indicating he already has a strategy to win their favor. Katniss realizes Peeta is a determined competitor, planning his moves even before reaching the arena. This realization heightens her resolve to keep her guard up, as the boy who once showed her kindness is now a formidable rival. Chapter 5. The Training Day. Katniss grits her teeth as Venia, with her aqua hair and gold tattoos, yanks another strip of fabric from her leg, tearing out the hair beneath. Venia, in her high-pitched capital accent, chirps an apology for the pain and comments on how hairy Katniss is. This initiates a series of capital-style grooming procedures that leave Katniss feeling exposed and vulnerable, but she keeps her promise to Haymitch to not complain. For over 3 hours, Katniss endures a thorough scrubbing, nail shaping, and hair removal by her prep team, Venia, Flavius with his orange corkscrew locks, and Octavia, who is dyed a pale shade of pea green. They eventually admire their work, and Katniss, standing naked, feels more like a plucked bird than a person. Finally, they summon her stylist, Cinna. Unlike the usual flamboyant capital residents, Cinna appears almost normal with his simple black attire and understated gold eyeliner. His calm demeanor and genuine interest in Katniss's appearance surprise her. He compliments the braids her mother had arranged, noting their classic beauty. Cinna leads Katniss to a sitting room for lunch, a luxurious meal that starkly contrasts with the meager fare of District 12. As they eat, Katniss ponders the ease of capital life and how despicable it seems compared to her struggles back home. Sensing her disdain, Cinna acknowledges the capital's excesses and shifts the conversation to her costume for the opening ceremonies. Cinna reveals his plan to make Katniss and Peeta unforgettable by focusing not on their district's coal mining, but on fire. Katniss initially fears she will be naked and covered in coal dust, but is relieved when Cinna explains they'll wear synthetic flames. Hours later, she finds herself in a black unitard with leather boots and a cape of fluttering flames. When Peeta arrives, also dressed in a fiery outfit, the two share a moment of nervous humor, joking about ripping off their capes if the flames become too real. As they prepare for the parade, Cinna ignites their costumes, and the synthetic flames give a dazzling effect without burning them. Holding hands, they enter the streets of the capital. The crowd's initial shock turns to roaring approval, and Katniss, seeing their reaction on a large screen, gains confidence. She waves and blows kisses, feeling a surge of hope for the first time. The capital citizens shower them with flowers, shouting their names. The attention on District 12 is unprecedented, with Katniss and Peeta stealing the spotlight from the other tributes. As they circle the city center, President Snow gives his welcome speech, and the cameras linger on their chariot. Katniss and Peeta's display has captivated the capital, ensuring they will not be forgotten. After the parade, they are mobbed by their ecstatic prep teams and congratulated by Cinna and Portia, Peeta's stylist. The tribute's envious glares confirm their success. Katniss remains wary of Peeta, though his charm and their shared experience create a confusing mix of camaraderie and competition. She reminds herself to stay vigilant, knowing that behind Peeta's friendly demeanor lies a potential threat. With a strategic kiss on his bruised cheek, Katniss resolves to keep her guard up as they head into the games. Chapter 6: The Interviews. In Chapter 6 of The Hunger Games, Katniss and Peeta settle into the lavish training center, which is designed exclusively for the tributes and their teams. The opulence of the capital contrasts starkly with Katniss's experiences back in District 12, making her both awed and uneasy. Upon arriving, Katniss is struck by the modernity and luxury of the tower. The elevators, made of crystal, offer a thrilling view of the shrinking world below, a stark contrast to the grimy, snail-paced elevators of her home district. Effie Trinket, still buzzing from their memorable entrance at the opening ceremonies, continues her role in managing the tributes, touting their virtues to potential sponsors. Effie's attempts to garner sponsors for Katniss and Peeta include spinning tales of their struggle and sacrifice, though her understanding of coal turning to pearls leaves Katniss bemused by the capital's ignorance. Despite Effie's enthusiasm, it's clear that only Haymitch, their often unreliable mentor, can seal the crucial sponsor deals. Katniss's quarters, brimming with advanced technology and luxurious amenities, are a far cry from her humble home. She marvels at the shower's multitude of options and the effortless magic of a closet that selects outfits and windows that zoom in on cityscapes at her command. Her initial wonder is replaced by practicality as she heads to dinner, hoping for a strategic discussion rather than mere sustenance. At dinner, a groomed and sober Haymitch joins them, indicating he might be ready to fulfill his mentoring duties. As the adults exchange pleasantries and discuss strategies, Katniss is captivated by the decadent meal, a sensory overload compared to her usual fare. However, the atmosphere shifts when Katniss recognizes a serving girl with red hair, an Avox, a capital traitor punished by having her tongue cut out. The girl's terrified reaction triggers a haunting memory for Katniss. Flashbacks reveal that Katniss once saw this girl and a boy being hunted in the woods. The boy was killed, and the girl captured by a silent, deadly capital hovercraft. This memory, laden with guilt for not having helped, brings a somber reminder of the capital's brutality. Peeta, ever the quick thinker, covers for Katniss by claiming the girl resembles someone they know from District 12, easing the tension at the table. Later, Peeta invites Katniss to the rooftop garden, a space filled with wind chimes masking their whispered conversation. Here, Katniss recounts the harrowing incident in the woods, expressing her deep-seated guilt and fear. Peeta's unexpected kindness, offering his jacket to warm her, leaves Katniss pondering the complexities of their alliance. Their conversation under the night sky of the capital, with its endless twinkling lights, underscores the alien world they are now a part of. The chapter ends with Katniss returning to her room, haunted by the Avox girls' silent accusation and the brutal reality of their situation, knowing that despite the luxurious surroundings, they are being prepared for a deadly game of survival. This chapter deepens our understanding of the capital's opulence and cruelty, juxtaposing moments of human connection and the stark realities of the games, setting the stage for the intense trials ahead. Chapter 7: The Games begin. As dawn breaks over the capital, Katniss awakens from haunting nightmares filled with the red-headed girl, gruesome images from past Hunger Games, and terrifying visions of her family. Her morning is a series of uncomfortable mishaps, from biting her cheek in her sleep to an erratic shower experience, but the familiar, simple attire left for her offers a small sense of normalcy and comfort. In the dining room, she encounters an Avox who silently permits her to indulge in a lavish breakfast. Despite the luxurious spread, her thoughts drift back to her family, wondering how they reacted to her fiery entrance the previous night. Haymitch and Peeta join her, and she is irked to see Peeta dressed identically to her. The twins act she worries might jeopardize them once the games begin. Yet, she recalls Haymitch's advice to follow the stylist's instructions, recognizing Cinna's brilliance. As they begin their training, Haymitch offers to coach Katniss and Peeta separately but both refuse, opting to train together. Haymitch probes their skills, learning about Katniss's hunting prowess and Peeta's strength. Peeta surprises Katniss by praising her exceptional archery skills, revealing his father's admiration for her precision. This unexpected support baffles and slightly irritates Katniss, highlighting their complex relationship. Training is intense and nerve-wracking. Katniss and Peeta must practice alongside the other tributes, which makes her anxious. The formidable presence of the career tributes, who have been training for the games their whole lives, adds to her unease. Haymitch advises them to stay together and avoid revealing their true strengths until their private sessions with the game makers. In the gymnasium, Katniss and Peeta methodically move from station to station, learning essential survival and combat skills. Despite Haymitch's directive to appear mediocre, Peeta excels in hand-to-hand combat, while Katniss effortlessly identifies edible plants. The game maker's presence looms, observing their every move. During meals, the career tributes dominate with confidence, while most others sit alone, lost in their thoughts. Katniss and Peeta maintain a forced camaraderie, as per Haymitch's orders, which wears on them both. Their dynamic shifts subtly over the 3 days of training. They even notice Rue, the young tribute from District 11, observing them. Rue's presence and skills evoke a sense of kinship in Katniss, reminding her of her sister Prim. On the final day of training, tributes are called for their private sessions. Peeta leaves with encouragement from Katniss to showcase his strength. When Katniss's turn comes, she faces a disinterested group of game makers, weary from a day of performances. Determined to leave an impression, she heads to the archery station, her fingers itching to finally showcase her true talent. However, a miscalculation with the unfamiliar bow puts her at a disadvantage, leaving her to muster all her resolve to regain the game maker's attention. Chapter 8: The Bloodbath. As Katniss storms toward the elevator, she flings her bow and quiver aside in a dramatic gesture of frustration. The Avoxes, mute and shocked, watch her as she slams the button for the 12th floor. The moment the elevator doors close, her bravado crumbles, and tears stream down her cheeks. Ignoring the calls from her team, she retreats to her room, locks the door, and collapses on her bed, consumed by sobs. Her mind races with regret and fear. By shooting an arrow at the game makers, she has jeopardized everything. The image of her impulsive action, spurred by anger at being ignored, haunts her. Katniss worries about the repercussions, not just for herself but for her family. The fear of her mother and sister being punished for her actions gnaws at her. She imagines the worst: arrest, execution, or being turned into an Avox. As the hours pass without any sign of retribution, Katniss begins to calm down. She realizes the Capitol still needs a girl tribute from District 12. If the game makers want to punish her, they will do so in the arena, where they can manipulate her fate publicly. The imminent threat shifts from immediate arrest to the possibility of receiving a dismally low training score, which would diminish her chances of gaining sponsors and surviving the games. Eventually, she emerges for dinner, her face red and blotchy from crying. The atmosphere is tense as everyone awaits the announcement of the training scores. Peeta tries to lighten the mood by sharing his own frustrating experience with the game makers, who were too drunk to pay him any attention. This revelation gives Katniss some comfort. At least she wasn't the only one dismissed. When Haymitch directly asks her about her day, Katniss recounts her bold action of shooting an arrow at the game makers, hitting an apple out of a roasted pig's mouth. The room falls silent, shocked by her audacity. Even Effie, usually so composed, is horrified. Haymitch, however, is pragmatic, reassuring her that the game makers would prefer to torment her in the arena rather than punish her family or arrest her now. Dinner continues with a mix of tension and humor. Effie, despite her disapproval of Katniss's actions, admits the game makers deserved a wake-up call. Portia, Peeta's stylist, offers some hope, suggesting that low scores might be interpreted as strategic. As the scores are announced, Katniss braces for the worst. To her astonishment, she receives an 11, one of the highest scores. The room erupts in cheers and congratulations. Katniss, still in disbelief, learns from Haymitch that her fiery display of defiance impressed the game makers. They need players with spark to make the games exciting. Cinna, her stylist, hints at an even more spectacular interview dress, continuing the theme of Katniss as the girl who was on fire. The high score brings a momentary reprieve, but it also complicates her relationship with Peeta. Both have performed well, yet they are reminded that their success means the other's potential downfall. Katniss retreats to her room, exhausted and emotionally drained, but with a flicker of hope. She dreams of home and Gale, her hunting partner and confidant, feeling a pang of longing for the safety and companionship he provided. The next day dawns with the promise of more challenges, as she and Peeta prepare for their televised interviews, each wondering what their newfound status means for their alliance and survival. Chapter 9. A Shining Spark. In Chapter 9 of The Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen wrestles with the sudden and jarring betrayal by Peeta Mellark. For Katniss, trust is a foreign concept, especially with Peeta, the boy who saved her sister with bread, stood by her during the chariot parade, and covered for her with the Avox girl. But now, Peeta's actions have severed any fragile connection they had. Peeta's request for separate coaching shatters any lingering illusion of alliance, leaving Katniss to question her ability to trust anyone in the brutal world of the games. Katniss's day is filled with grueling preparation. Effie Trinket, in her relentless style, has Katniss practice walking in high heels and mastering the art of smiling and charm, pushing her to the brink. The physical demands and the absurdity of trying to please an audience leave Katniss exhausted and frustrated. When she confronts Effie, questioning the sincerity of the Capitol's facade, it's clear that Effie's advice to pretend is all about making Katniss likable. The dichotomy between Katniss's raw emotions and the Capitol's superficial expectations becomes stark. Haymitch's session is equally challenging. He is blunt, pushing Katniss to find a persona that will attract sponsors. He criticizes her for being hostile and suggests she try being humble, praising her survival and her sister Prim. The concept of faking it is foreign to Katniss, who is accustomed to raw honesty and survival. Yet, Haymitch's words resonate, pushing Katniss to consider a new angle for her interview. As the day progresses, Katniss's final hope rests with Cinna. He transforms her with a breathtaking dress, shimmering with the colors of fire, making her feel like a sunlit flame. Cinna's faith in her, urging her to be herself, provides a lifeline. He advises her to think of her best friend, Gale, and to address Caesar Flickerman with honesty. The night of the interviews arrives, and the stark contrast between the Capitol's glamour and Katniss's apprehension is palpable. The audience is filled with spectators, each tribute's fate hanging on their every word and gesture. Katniss's turn comes, and as she steps onto the stage, her nerves are overwhelming. The questions from Caesar are a whirlwind, and with Cinna's reassuring presence, she finds the strength to be herself. Her answers, laced with the raw emotions of her love for Prim and her fierce resolve to survive, captivate the audience, turning her into a symbol of strength and determination. As Peeta's turn comes, the audience is charmed by his humor and candidness, but the biggest shock is yet to come. Peeta, playing the role of the baker's son, subtly reveals his deep feelings for Katniss, confessing that the girl he loves is standing right there with him. This confession sends ripples through the Capitol, leaving Katniss and the audience grappling with the depth of their intertwined destinies. In this chapter, Katniss's journey is a tumultuous blend of betrayal, self-discovery, and defiance, setting the stage for the battle of wits and wills that is about to unfold in the arena. Her transformation from a girl of few words to a symbol of rebellion is vividly brought to life, making this chapter a pivotal moment in her story.